All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at a pretty wild theory that completely reframes reality. It asks us to consider that all those little, annoying things that break your concentration, the weird coincidences that just derail your train of thought, they might not be random at all. They might be something else entirely, what the sources call the system's friction.
I mean, you've been there, right? You are right on the edge of a breakthrough. That perfect moment of clarity is about to hit, and bam, something shatters it. It almost feels personal. Well, what if I told you that according to the material we're digging into, that's not just you being paranoid. That's you sensing the system's own automated defense mechanism kicking into gear.
And this is just a perfect, almost hilarious example from one of our sources. The author's sitting there, deep in thought, actually putting these very ideas together, and a single mosquito just silently lands and bites him. It's such a tiny thing, but it's timed so perfectly to just obliterate his focus. In this framework, that's not just a random insect, it's a targeted micro-interruption, deployed by a system that doesn't want you thinking too hard.
So where does an idea this big even come from? Well, the theory really has two layers. And to get it, we've got to start with the older, more mystical view of the world. One that frames our reality as, believe it or not, a battlefield in a cosmic proxy war.
One of our sources labels this the external force. Now, this isn't some neutral, distant power. No, it's described as a straight-up malevolent force from a spirit world that is actively messing with our physical reality. It's called a plague, a disgusting existence that's been pulling the strings for centuries.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how this force supposedly operates. You've got two modes. On the one hand, there's overt possession. Think movie exorcisms or historical accounts of Hercules flying into a murderous rage. It's loud, it's messy, it's obvious. But the real danger, the sources argue, is in the covert control. That's where people get turned into puppets without having a clue it's even happening.
And that is the perfect analogy, right? The source literally says to think of Agent Smith. Anyone who is still plugged in, anyone whose personal firewall is down, can be hijacked. The system can just use them to run a little script, to distract you, to argue with you, to pull you back into the mundane. And the scary part is, they'll think it was their own idea the whole time.
Okay, so that's the mystical view. But what if this external force isn't some ancient spirit or demon? The second layer of this whole theory takes that idea and translates it into the cold, hard language of computer science. It suggests the force isn't a ghost in the machine, it's a feature of the machine itself, an algorithm in the operating system we're all living in.
The key idea here is something called systemic homeostasis. Look, your body automatically works to keep its temperature stable, right? The theory says the matrix, the simulation, does the same thing. It has a built-in drive to maintain its own stability. So anything that threatens that, like a person who's starting to wake up and see the code, is flagged as a bug, a threat to be neutralized. And this totally reframes that idea of covert control. It's not demonic possession anymore. It's agent hijacking. The system doesn't need to send some special agent after you. It just does what's called a local proximity call. It finds the nearest available user, your friend, your coworker, some guy on the bus, and temporarily uses them to run an interference script.
And this gets us to the very core of it. The interference isn't some grand conspiracy against you personally. It's just automated friction. It's a defense mechanism built into the physics of this place. If you try to escape a planet's gravity, you have to fight against drag and resistance. Well, if you try to escape the system's mental gravity, you run into this very subtle, physical resistance disguised as bad luck.
And this is where it gets really mind-bending, where the two theories just merge into one. The laws of nature, biology, thermodynamics, all of it, they're not neutral, they are the control code. A mosquito being drawn to the CO2 and heat from your body isn't just biology. It's a script that targets a brain that's overheating with deep thought. The physics of our world is the enforcement mechanism.
Okay, so let's apply this new technical lens to history. Because if a system like this really exists, we should be able to go back and find its error logs, right? We should be able to see records of its defense mechanisms kicking in. And we're better to look than at the lives of those who pushed the boundaries the hardest, the great philosophers.
So let's reframe these guys not as thinkers, but as early jailbreak nodes. These weren't just men contemplating existence, they were running mental processes so intense they kept triggering the system's intrusion detection. And as you can see, each one got a very different and escalating response from the system.
First up, Schopenhauer. The man was famously, almost pathologically, obsessed with how much he hated noise. He called it torture. But in this framework, his brain was like a high-performance CPU, overclocked and in a state of extreme focus. So all that random noise of the city, a whip cracking, people shouting, it wasn't just annoying. It was a low-level DDS attack, a constant stream of junk data designed to flood his processor and make him crash.
Then you get Socrates, and his death, seen through this lens, wasn't a political tragedy. It was a system-level process termination. He was running a dangerous program, trying to get other people to decompile their own beliefs. So what did the system do? No lightning bolts. It used the existing social operating system. It hijacked 500 local NPCs, ran them through a democratic consensus algorithm to label him a virus, and then forced the node Socrates to execute a clean self-destruct command. All legal, all deniable.
And finally, you have the ultimate boss battle. Shakyamuni, the Buddha, attempting a full root unmount from the system. Here, the system deployed its chief security officer, the entity known as Mara. First, it tried a brute force attack. Illusions of armies, lightning, trying to trigger a kernel panic in his biological hardware. When that didn't work, it rolled out the ultimate honeypot, Mara's daughters, a high-bandwidth data stream of pure desire and attachment, designed to flood his cache and make him want to stay plugged in.
So, okay, if we even entertain this model for a second, it begs the question, how do you survive? If we really are all just nodes in a hostile system, what's the user's guide for navigating an environment where the laws of physics themselves are designed to keep you in line?
Well, the sources propose what they call a low-privilege stealth protocol. Step 1, switch your own mind to read-only mode. Stop trying to fight the system or change it. Just observe. That way, the friction algorithm has nothing to grab onto. Step 2, sandbox your physical body. Treat it like a virtual machine that handles all the day-to-day stuff, insulating your core awareness. And finally, step 3, heartbeat spoofing. Just blend in, act normal. Don't do anything to ping the system's radar.
It's a really radical way to look at the world, isn't it? Translating this ancient idea of spiritual warfare into the language of system administration, and it leaves us with this one kind of unsettling question. Now that you've been shown this framework, now that you have this new lens, what seemingly random event, what perfectly timed interruption are you going to notice next? And will you still be able to call it random?